everyone, it's Katie here from Lady Red Crafting. Today I'm excited to share some beautiful autumn decoupage creations using simple materials like tissue paper, delicate lace, and even a fun pineapple placemat. If you love cozy fall crafts, then you're in the right place. So let's get started. Let's transform this pineapple placemat from the Dollar Tree, a wood board, and some vintage lace into a beautifully stunning decor piece. I'm starting out by taking this placemat and using my board to trace out a pattern on the back side of this placemat, so it'll be easier for me to cut this out. And these placemats are super simple to cut. I have used a few in the past for different crafts, and I have been so surprised on how well these work out. So if you have not tried using a placemat for a craft, I definitely would give this a try. It's a fun, unusual item that adds a bunch of different dimension to a piece. Now let's go ahead and grab our lace and repeat the exact same steps. Now that we have all of our pieces cut out, I did need to decide what color I wanted to paint my piece of wood. And I couldn't make a decision right away. So what I did was I just painted a few different colors on a piece of cardboard here. And I'm using my little piece of the placemat to decide what color I would like to paint our board. So I ended up deciding on the color Champagne. And this is a Martha Stewart multi-surface metallic acrylic paint. And I really just love that little bit of shimmer this off-white paint has. Now for this piece, I did paint the whole entire board, front, back, and sides. And once our paint has dried, I decided to use my Mod Podge, and I'm using the glossy finish on this one because I don't want to take away from that shimmer that this paint has. And then we're just going to paint a nice coat over the top of this piece. Now, while the Mod Podge is still wet, we're going to grab our placemat and we're going to lay this on top of the wet Mod Podge. Next, I'm going to go ahead and grab some cling wrap. And we're going to take a small piece of this cling wrap and lay it over the top of our placemat. And then I'm just going to lightly press down and make sure that there are no bubbles with the placemat on top of this board. Once I'm happy with what is happening here, we're just going to go ahead and remove that piece of cling wrap and let this dry. Now let's go ahead and flip our piece over and repeat the same steps. We're going to add our glossy Mod Podge, and then next we're going to lay that piece of lace over the top of the wet Mod Podge. Now let's grab our piece of cling wrap and smooth everything out. Then let's remove that piece of cling wrap and let this side dry. While that is drying, let's go ahead and make a little stem for our pumpkin. I'm using these little wood peg dolls that I found at the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to pick one of these out to use for our stem. Now I'm going to paint this with my black multi-surface folk art paint. Now to attach our stem to our pumpkin, I am going to be using my wood glue that I have from the Dollar Tree and a little bit of hot glue. And don't worry if you get too much glue on there, you can use a baby wipe to wipe any of that excess off. And now for some final touches, I made two little bows with this beautiful ribbon I found on Amazon. And I'm just going to hot glue that on either side of our pumpkin. And this way, whichever side you're looking at the pumpkin, it'll look beautiful. And then we're just going to repeat this same step on our lace side of our pumpkin. I'm adding a little bit of hot glue and securing our bow. And wow, I just love how beautiful this pumpkin turns out. I think this is such a stunning piece. It's definitely more neutral, so you can put this with any decor. And it gives it so much character. That pineapple placemat adds so much dimension. So let's take a vote. Which side of the pumpkin do you like better? Do you like side 1 with the pineapple placemat? Or do you like side 2 with the lace overlay? Let me know in the comments below. Let's give this wood frame a sunny makeover. We're using this fun sunflower tissue paper that I got at HomeGoods, and this frame is a Martha Stewart frame that I believe I got at Walmart. So if you're looking for something like this is a great blank that you can craft and do a whole bunch of different things. So for our first step, I'm taking my Mod Podge, and this is the matte Mod Podge, and I'm going to go ahead and just paint the whole entire perimeter of this frame on the front and around the sides as well. Now we're just going to let this dry, and then we're going to do our next step. One thing that you may notice here is that I'm not painting this piece first. So in some of my projects, or most of my decoupage projects, I usually paint the piece with a white background first, so it makes the tissue paper or the napkin stand out more. But for this piece, by not painting it, you'll see what will happen. It's going to kind of fade more into the frame and make it look like it's almost been printed onto the frame. And I really like the look that it gets when I do this with these light colored frames or light pieces of wood. It goes really well with decoupage. Next, we're going to take this piece of tissue paper, and I did get this at HomeGoods. I found this by accident. I actually went into HomeGoods looking for a napkin to decoupage for the fall and wasn't able to find any, so I found this tissue paper, and I really love how it looks. So you'll see that I did put this tissue paper on top of the frame, and we do have some excess around the whole entire frame, and that is on purpose because we are going to go ahead and decoupage onto the sides of the frame so it looks very professional when we're done. So we put a piece of parchment paper over the top of the tissue paper, and using a hot iron, we're just going to iron our tissue paper right onto the frame. And now for our next step. I am doing it with an iron, but you can definitely just do this with a paintbrush and your Mod Podge. But I am going to fold over the tissue paper on the top of this frame. I'm taking that piece of parchment paper and I'm just going to iron that into place. Now, if you don't feel comfortable doing this with the heat, you definitely can just put this on with some wet Mod Podge first and then just use a piece of cling wrap instead of the parchment paper to go ahead and smooth everything out. And now here is what that looks like. I think this gives a really nice finished touch to it. And now I'm going to repeat that same step on the opposite side of the frame. Now, once you have done all 4 sides, you can go ahead and cut the paper. But what I decided to do was I just made a small little fold like a package, and I just went ahead and used my Mod Podge and I just tacked it into place there. So that way it had a nice little finished touch to each corner of our piece. And now once we have all 4 corners tacked down, I'm going to go ahead and let this dry for a little bit, and then we'll come back to remove any of that excess paper. So now to remove some of this excess paper, I grabbed a razor blade and I'm just going to cut out the center of our frame. Now this doesn't have to be perfect because I am going to come back in with my zip sander and I'm going to sand off any excess paper that is still in that frame. Then we'll continue using that zip sander to remove the remaining pieces of paper around the outside of the frame. Now here is what our frame looks like so far. We have a really nice look here, and I love how it kind of folds over on the outside and continues over. And you can see that this is really bright, but you can tell that it's over wood, which I really love that look with the tissue paper on the raw wood. Now to seal this in, I'm using my Rust-Oleum matte clear enamel. So I did take this outside and I gave it a nice coat. And this sealer really allows for that wood to show through bright on that tissue paper. Now you could just stop here and have a beautiful sunflower frame, but I want to fill in the center. For this, I'm using a large popsicle stick and this fun stencil that I found on Amazon. For the chalk paste, I'm using Redesign in Iron Gate. And I'm going to take my little stencil here and I'm just going to put the word thankful on top of the popsicle stick. After this, I'm going to grab my squeegee and I'm just going to squeegee that chalk paste right over the word thankful. And while we have a quick moment, I want to tell you all about this fun playlist I'm a part of, Autumn Inspiration. I host this every month with Lowly D Creations on the 8th. Our guest host is Jackie Burns Creations. This playlist is all about autumn inspiration, so if you are looking for fun autumn crafts, check out the playlist down in my link below. You won't be disappointed. Thank you for watching, and now back to our video. And now let's go ahead and remove our stencil. Wow, I love how this thankful turns out. Now, once everything has dried, I did grab my miter shears and I'm going to just trim that popsicle stick. I am going to give myself a little bit of room on either side of the word thankful because we are going to make this look like a wooden sign that was out in the woods. So once we've gotten a straight edge, I am going to come back with these miter shears and cut little triangles out of each side of this piece. And since we are doing this with a popsicle stick, you could use a heavy-duty pair of scissors for this if you don't have miter shears. And I've actually used the garden clippers from the Dollar Tree before I had miter shears just because they were a lot less expensive to use and they do work well for cutting wood. So now that our thankful sign is complete, I'm going to go back to that centerpiece of wood. And this piece is more of a particle board, and I am using my Mod Podge for this, and I'm just going to paint the top of this with some Mod Podge. Now, once our Mod Podge has completely dried, I am going to grab a piece of white burlap here, and I'm just going to set that on top of that Mod Podge. Next, I'll grab a piece of parchment paper, and using my hot iron, I'll go ahead and iron this to our piece. And if you haven't decoupaged with fabric before, it is really simple. I love doing it, and I think this really gives a fun texture to our piece. Now let's go ahead and put everything together. So I did have these little sunflowers in my stash. I got them a few years ago from Dollar Tree, and I have seen them, I think last year. I haven't seen them yet this year, but this is still pretty early for getting some of our supplies. Once I've put the centerpiece back into our frame, I am going to take that thankful sign and determine where I'd like it with the flowers. And I did end up having to cut the stems on these flowers just a little bit. I just used my wire cutters for doing that. Next, I'm just going to hot glue everything into place. And now our beautiful thankful sign is complete. I just love how this turns out. The sunflowers look amazing, and this looks so high-end. I cannot wait to display this in my office. If you enjoyed this craft, please consider liking this video or leaving a little sunflower down in the comments below. Thanks! So I love when the Dollar Tree gets these beautiful pieces for the fall, and they are such a great staple item to go ahead and remake to match your decor. For this one, I'm using this beautiful tissue paper that I found on Amazon, and I'm going to go ahead and decoupage this little leaf. So to start out, I'm going to remove the little tag that's on our leaf. You can save this and use this for another craft, or if you wanted to, you could add this back to the craft when we're done. I'm going to be saving it for a different craft. Next, I'll go ahead and remove everything on the back side of this leaf and then do a quick little sanding to make sure there's no stickies left. Now I'm going to go ahead and tape this down to a paintable surface. And using my Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster, I am going to give a nice coat of paint on both sides of this leaf. Now I did end up having to do 2 full coats to make sure I covered this red. And once everything was dry, I grabbed my Martha Stewart metallic gold paint. And I'm going to take that paint and just paint that around the perimeter of this leaf. And by having this taped down to that paintable surface, it makes it really easy to paint those sides. Now, I really wanted this gold paint to make a statement, so I did do 2 coats of paint on this. And I just love how this is turning out. For our next step, I am grabbing my Mod Podge, and I'm using my matte Mod Podge for this. And I'm going to go ahead and paint a nice layer over the top of my leaf. Now, once our Mod Podge has completely dried, I'm going to go ahead and just layer one of these pieces of tissue paper right on top of my leaf. And I love this tissue paper. I found it on Amazon, and I'll leave a link for it in my description box below. Next, I layered a piece of parchment paper over the top of the tissue paper, and using a hot iron, I'm going to iron that tissue paper right onto the leaf. Now let's go ahead and flip our leaf over and repeat the same steps. We'll use our Mod Podge and paint a nice coat, let that dry, then we'll add our tissue paper and iron that on. Now let's go ahead and remove the excess tissue paper. To do this, I am going to grab a razor blade and I'm going to try to trim around the outside of the perimeter of the leaf as best as I can. Now this isn't going to be perfect, but that is okay. After we're done taking off the paper that we can with our razor blade, I'm going to come back with an emery board. We're going to take this emery board and we're going to get in between all of the pieces. You could also use a small piece of sanding paper or a little sanding block. And once we are satisfied, I did come back with a little bit of that gold paint and touched up any areas that may have been sanded off. Now, once everything has dried, I put our leaf back on our paintable surface. And I took this outside and I'm using my Mod Podge Clear Gloss Acrylic Spray. And we're going to just go ahead and just spray this and seal both sides in. And now once everything has dried, our beautiful piece is ready to display. I just love how this leaf turns out. It is so colorful, but fun and fall all in the same piece. And what I love about this craft is that you can do whatever tissue paper or even a napkin that works well with you and your decor in that room. So you can change this up to whatever color scheme or print that you would like. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite colors to decorate are for the fall. Hi everyone! I wanted to give a big congratulations to our July newsletter contest winners. Maria for her beautiful succulent pot and adorable Highland cow project, and Crystal for her pretty patriotic welcome wreath. Your creativity truly stood out. If you would like a chance to win fun prizes, be sure to sign up for Lady Red Crafting newsletter. You'll get exclusive giveaways, craft inspiration, and all the latest updates delivered right to your inbox. To sign up, just look in the description box below and click on the link. Don't miss out, join us today, and let's get crafty together. Thank you so much for watching and crafting with me today. I hope these autumn decoupage projects using tissue paper, lace, and the pineapple placemat brought some cozy fall inspiration. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. And until next time, please remember, craft more, stress less.